Explorers. Today my story is called Kiyoshi's Walk. The author's name is Mark Karlins and the illustrator is Nicole Wong. Kiyoshi watched his grandfather, the wise poet Ito, write a poem with brush and ink. The brush flicked across the page. The dripping faucet takes me back to my old home. Raindrops on Fog Pond. The words made Kiyoshi smile. He wished that he could make poems too. Where do poems come from? He asked. Ito put his brush and ink away. Let's go for a walk, he said. He tucked the pen and paper into his pocket and took Kiyoshi's hand. They walked by the store on the corner, and the sun shone out from behind the cloud. Ito stopped and wrote, Hill of orange suns, cat leaps, oranges tumble. The cat licks his paw. Kiyoshi felt puzzled. Does that mean that poems come from seeing things? They kept walking. Kiyoshi noticed a flower growing out of the crack in the sidewalk. A girl whooshed by on roller skates. At a sound, Kiyoshi and Ito looked up. Ito wrote, The sky calls to us. Pigeons, the whirl of feathers. Our arms could be wings. Oh, Kiyoshi said, you find poems by listening. They passed by an old house with a tall wall around it. They peeked through a crack but could see only a stuffed bear on the ground. Ito took out his pen and wrote, His boy moved away, lying by the empty house. A lonely bear waits. Yes, said Kiyoshi, poems come from your imagination. Finally, Kiyoshi and Ito reached the river. Ito sat under a tree while Kiyoshi fed crackers to some of the ducks. He felt a damp breeze as the sun drifted over. Two children reeled in their kites and left the park. Kiyoshi felt a little lonely, and he told his grandfather. Ito wrote one more poem, his hand a shadow in the fading light. Dark sky, clouded moon, back at home, his mother's voice. A tired boy dreams. I know something else, Kiyoshi said. Our feelings also make poems. The wind sighed through the leaves. A boat full of people floated past, its lights glowing on the water. Ito touched Kiyoshi's hand. Now, do you understand where poems come from? He asked. Kiyoshi thought for a few seconds. Well, they come from here, he said, and he opened his arms wide to take in the river and the sky and the distant buildings. And they come from here, he said, and he pointed to his own heart. Yes, said Ito, and they come from the way the two come together. He brought his hands close, touching one to the other. They sat for a moment in silence. May I write a poem, Kiyoshi asked, and Ito nodded. Kiyoshi took a deep breath and wrote, In the cool spring night, the wind's dance makes me shiver. Your voice keeps me warm. Ito read his grandson's poem, and he smiled. Kiyoshi slipped his hand into his grandfather's, and under the streetlights they began their long walk home. And in everything there was a poem, the faces of the people, the sound of the river, and the moon breaking from the clouds. I'm going to read you the author's note about this book. In my own life as a writer, it began with poetry. I wondered, like Kiyoshi, how to find poems of my own and how to write them. Kiyoshi and Ito are both fictional characters, but their poems, called haikus, are a traditional form that originated in Japan. The most famous writer of haiku was Basho, a Japanese poet that lived from 1644 to 1694. I like to think that Ito is similar to Basho in that both are keen observers of the world. Haikus do not use rhyme. They often concentrate on ordinary, unpoetic things like taking a walk, brushing your teeth, toast popping from the toaster, a crumpled newspaper blowing down the street. The focus is on the moment, and often the final line of the haiku is an unexpected image, a surprise. A haiku is always written in 3 lines. A haiku in English commonly has 5 syllables in the first line, 7 in the second, and 5 in the third. In the original Japanese, it's not the syllables that matter, but the sounds. In English, some poets reflect this by choosing looser style writing, 3-line poems that do not conform to the 5-7-5 pattern, but capture the spirit of the haiku by focusing on nature, spontaneity, and simplicity of expression. Usually created by a single poet, a haiku can become part of a game-like form called ringya, in which 2 or more people write a linked poem. A haiku can also include painting and calligraphy. If we look with a poet's eye, everything can become poetry. What a beautiful story, my friends. Maybe you can challenge yourself to write a haiku poem. 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables. Until next time, friends.